So Whitney, there's a phenomena here in the expat community in Amsterdam of, some people have to move back. And when they move back, they have to get rid of a lot of stuff. Now, we have some friends who are moving back, and they actually got them a container, so they're taking like their Weber grill. We were like, "Why are you taking a grill? I mean, is it a nice one?" And then they were like, "Well, it's a Weber grill." And we were like, "Well, I mean, okay, but still." But so we have a bag of cords because, of course, the thing that you get rid of is like the things that you can't plug into a wall in the States, right? And this got me thinking. Now it's great to have extension cords. I don't always use them, but I love cords. But I was also thinking,
you just opened so many cans of worms.
So many cans of cords.
Okay.
That might be getting to it. Is I wanted to ask you what your cord organization strategy is, because I think I have had all of them, and I well, maybe I'll get to what mine is, but I know you have a lot of cords, and if you don't have a lot of cords, you should have a lot of cords. You've done something to get rid of them. So what's your deal with cords? How do you organize them?
I think my cords are rather a mess. So I'm not great. Once they're plugged in somewhere, I'm like, oh, it works. I'm not very interested in how some things plug into some other things, which a lot of people do have that interest, and it's not mine. And then I do have a pretty solid. If I have a cord and I don't know what it plugs into, I don't have that cord anymore. There's no reason to keep it around.
Okay.
Once I need to plug something into something else, if I can't find the cord is findable somewhere. I don't need to keep it in my.
Okay, so one follow-up question: what is the period of time where you do the cord matching, or is it ad hoc, or are you like every 3 months you're like, I'm going to match up the cords, the ones that don't match are out?
It's like I'm cleaning out a space. I'm cleaning out the closet. Here's a cord. Whenever I find a cord somewhere, do I know where? Do I need this cord? Do I know where it goes immediately? No, I don't need this cord.
Okay.
It's out.
Okay. So from a high level, your cord organization strategy is I only have the cords I need.
Yeah.
If they don't plug into what I have, no cord.
I'm no cord hoarder.
Right. And I think I want to bring in just one more thing before we bring in the guests to see how they do this. But you're to do some cross-disciplinary nonsense conversation topics. You're bringing in, I think, a secret travel tip. The three of us here are frequent travelers. One of the things I try to tell the unfrequent travelers is wherever you're going, they probably sell soap, right? So like if you're freaking out about like your toothpaste or your shampoo or even socks, they probably have it. So like, I'm not saying don't bring it, but like, don't stress out. You don't need to worry about it. And similarly, like, I think you've got this approach, which I think probably I could profit from, which is you can go buy a cord. Like if you need one, it's fine. You don't need to have those USB caveman ones that have the big gigantic thing at the end.
You could even get those if you need them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can't.
And they'll be hella cheap nowadays. They'll be like the $2 cords.
I don't know. There's probably a point where they get expensive again. But sure.
All right. Well, now I'm going to bring in our guest. So, Chris Dancy, I've known you a long time. I thought of this question just for you because I know you have got a shit ton of cords. Or, like Whitney, you have like a perfect cord organization strategy. So let's reveal to the world, what's your cord organization strategy?
Oh man, I am hella cord organized, and not just by cord and cord type, by year that cord was appropriate. I literally have a room downstairs with little white bins with labels printed out with the year, and then inside there are sandwich bags with the cord type and the two connector types. So I instantly if I need to pull out a device or something, I know exactly where to go. Done. I mean, How
often do you access this cord organization system?
I literally want to take you downstairs right now, but we're on a camera. I almost want to like walk you down there. It's strange how often I just need a random cord or someone will contact me. Hey, I have this, I found this, or I bought this. Do you have and I'll be like, yeah. You know, your dad had all the screws in the garage and they were all in baby jars screwed up in wood. And he had like everything, every bolt. That is me for electronics.
You didn't answer my question. How often?
Pretty often. I'd say once a week I need a cord for something.
Once a week?
I am always leaving stuff everywhere.
Wow, what is your life?
Hold on, where's the place like a Monoprice? Do you guys know Monoprice?
Yeah. That's where you, like way back when you get the cheap HDMI cables there or whatever.
But they sell everything. They sell old ones, new ones. I mean, come on, Whitney. In the 90s, I used to have to pin out cords because if you had to hook up a printer, you actually had to pin it out. So I mean, I'd say I'm a cord hoarder. That's
Would you have to hook up a printer now?
If I needed to, I am ready.
I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic that the amount of time you put into your baggy printed label system has saved you time in the long run.
Well, this is not about saving time. This is peace of mind.
Okay.
Some people have like savings accounts. Some people, they have lots of things. I know I am covered for the apocalypse when it comes to
so you can meditate with your mind or your hands or both.
Yeah,
you can be very organized.
Pull up a picture on my phone. Now you've got me because you're saying you're a skeptic. I want to go find it. I won't. But no, I don't know. I have a healthy cord respect. There is nothing more debilitating than pulling something out of your bag or in your life, like a blender, and not having a cord. I don't know.
Every time I pull a blender out of my bag without a cord, I'm just damn.
You know the feeling when you need a cord and you don't have one. I know you know that feeling.
It is a feeling that I'm familiar with, but I've not had that feeling in a very long time.
This is the nightmare of like Carrot Top or Joel Hodgman, that your prop jokes are not going to work because you're in Australia and you don't have the cord for the blender.
But I even have the universal things that go on everything, and then I have extension cords for every continent. Because I never travel without a strip.
Yeah.
Because I can't just go because hotels only have like two toaster level, and it's near like the front door. So I take
that is the intermediate travel thing. Beginner level, they have shampoo and socks. I think intermediate level is like what you want to do is bring like a I don't even know what you call them. Bring one of these things that's got multiple plugs on it.
Power strip.
And then I discovered what you can do is you get a cord that has like the Infinity 8 sign thing on it. I don't even know what's that called. And then you buy the power brick that you can plug those cords into.
Yeah.
And then no matter in the world where you are, you can get your shit charged.
Ones, 12 whatever, the Mac company, they make a universal one with the Infinity symbol plug that has like 5 USBs. And I'm always buying, I don't know, is it pronounced GAN or GAN chargers? I mean, I've got like 500 of these 200 watt chargers that can blow your Mac up in 3 seconds.
Oh, so nice. Well, okay. So the reason, other than that you used to crimp cables for printers, one of the reasons I knew you had plenty of cords is are you still the most connected man in the world? What's your opinion on that?
Google still says I am, and ChatGPT still says I am. So I'm assuming I probably am. But
now I don't want to reveal any secrets, but do you feel like you're embodying that? Like, are you wearing enough devices now? Are you collecting the data? Like, is it still going?
Can we back up and explain what the most connected man in the world means? Because it's not like LinkedIn connections as I originally thought.
And everyone thinks that. No. So,
they do?
Yeah. I swear people think, are you connected? Because I get people on LinkedIn going, hey, you're the most connected, but we're not connected. And I want to go, use that line on women in bars? Like, it's not going to work on me. You know what I mean? No, I got most connected. I in the less than 5 seconds, I built a system that watched a bunch of sensors in my life and gave me feedback about what to do next in 2008. And by 2012, it had completely changed my life. And by 2013, I was on the TV for it.
Cool. So you have
absolutely
like all the possible tracking devices you could get your hands on and their respected cords, and were all of them.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I mean, like just a modern watch handles what like 6 different sensors used to do, and like, I don't have to wear near as many like devices to capture what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, because these things capture it full time. So this listens to me all day long and tells me at the end of the day everything I promised people I would do.
And you're showing me something you're wearing around your neck?
Yep. This is
a
limitless pendant. And it's got a little memory in it, and it records you all day long. Everything you say and everything you tell it, and kind of like a permanent memory for yourself.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so this is why I was wondering, is like, I feel like a lot of the stuff you were doing in that time is just like done for people now, or let me put it, it's just like, it's available, right? Like whatever you might have.
Yeah, 100%. It's strange. Even if we go back, 15 years when I started like talking about this, I wasn't even in the news yet. I always tell people what was important to me. Whitney will find this to be a great waste of time too. Was was not so much the data collection, but having to be able to access my life from devices, right? Where a lot of people talk about privacy. I just said it's never going to happen. But if it's never going to happen, I want the same benefits as Mark Zuckerberg.
If what's never going to happen?
Privacy. Like if there's
okay. Privacy is an illusion, so might as well own the data.
Exactly. So to me, in Cote, you'll appreciate this now because I'm sure you spend enough time talking about generative AI models. The volume of information that I can just plow through will blow your mind. I've got 20 years worth of tens of thousands of text dumps of every day of my life. So what people will be doing in probably 5 years, because now that we're starting to ramp up, I can do it now. I can literally time travel.
How often do you find yourself time traveling? And in what?
So for me, I rarely go back. I have a calendar that syncs kind of like Facebook does. On this day, you did these things. So on my calendar, we have what's called a love feed. And the love feed are moments where I had some significant romantic or intimate moment with my spouse, and that's shared to both of our calendars. So it's kind of like a memory on demand feature for us. It's like 3 years ago today, you guys were doing this and you took these pictures and you said this to Fernando and this is all this other kind of stuff. I do that every day. I mean, I look forward to the next day just to see it in the calendar because I love looking at time that way.
That's nice.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all mushy.
No, I love it. So you've measured everything about yourself that you could think to measure. Is that true? What
name it? Even the awkward stuff.
Yeah, I think we're all thinking about the awkward things. How do you weigh? Never mind. Like what inputs to your data, like what things that you measure have you found to be surprisingly useful things to measure that you didn't think would be, and vice versa? What's something that you thought would be amazing value and ended up not so interesting? Sleep hours sucks.
So everyone wants to measure their sleep. I say avoid it; it'll kill you because it just anything off and it's not your fault. But to that end, the environmental factors that help you sleep are super important. Room temperature, light, ambient sound, all that just banal stuff that you wouldn't think twice about are like, going back a long time ago. I still to this day, my room is a sleep tomb. You go in there, it feels different than every other part of the house. If people walk in there, it's almost like gas. They just want to lay in bed. It just, I even have scents that play. Well, I have scents that play all through the house, depending on what I'm working on. But yeah, to me, knowing your sleep, how much you slept is not good, but knowing you created the conditions for good sleep, super important.
Why is knowing your actual sleep hours bad?
For me personally, it makes me unfunctional. I might have 4 hours or 5 hours of sleep and wake up feeling fine. But if I know I have 5 hours of sleep in my mind, I blame everything that happens to me all day long on the 5 hours of sleep. It doesn't matter. I could sit in a corner and not talk to anyone, and I would blame the fact that I was doing that on the fact I only got 5 hours of sleep. I have to pretend I don't know it. And I sometimes, because my sleep still gets measured, I just don't look.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then what's something you didn't expect to be useful that ended up being incredibly useful?
Didn't expect to be useful. Arguments. So when I have an interaction with someone that's less than pleasant for me. It could even be a stranger. Then I don't tie it to the person. I tie it to the organization. I have SLA reports on when to fire people out of my life. I've had those for like 6 or 7 years. So, just keeping track of arguments, either with who, if it's someone you know, or with an organization, if it's like an anonymous person, a service person or something like, and then it's great when there's a Yelp review, and then here's the 8 times I called your service department over the last 5 years. You suck. All right. And like detailed notes and voice, the whole bit. So I love that.
Is this all coming from the thing you're wearing around your neck?
No, I actually have a lifestyle system I built way back when, which has evolved now. It's a huge database that I can query every single day. It's spread over my 6 core life values: health, home, finance, service, work. It's cute, family. And then everything ties to one of those values. I could give you a demo, but this is a audio show.
So you didn't where does that, how does, what device is capturing something like the amount of arguments you've had? Yeah, so arguments can happen in a bunch of different ways. In person, so then it's tied to a place. So I already know the place, so that's done. And that everything in my life has a feeling attached to it. So places have feeling, when I'm someplace, the phone automatically, low friction, says you're here. The location that gets synced if it's not in the database and creates the database. So you're either someplace or in an email transaction. So when I send an email or a text message, those are scraped. The text messages are scraped through a hack. The emails are actually go to a folder when I send it, so keep track of how I'm behaving with someone. Now with AI, it's great because if it's someone who's edging toward not a good relationship, I'll use AI to detone the email. Remove my tone. And then I manually, if there's something really made me very, very upset, I detail what I experienced from my point of view. Because every time, no one has the same point of view you do in an argument. Yeah. And in the moment, I don't have the emotional wherewithal to be third person Chris Dancy. So I have to just be upset and go back later and almost like an archaeologist pull out those feelings. But I created an emotional database with about 80 different emotion combinations, so I can always get to them very fast. Do your friends and family know that their behavior towards you is constantly being assessed?
And they're fucking amazing.
Because of that?
Because of it.
They know there's an audit that's going on.
No other reason, yeah.
I am the IRS for bullshit. Do not come with it. It's true. I mean, I do think can I share my screen? I won't, but I'll show you later, Whitney. It's pretty cool.
I am fascinated.
So I want to hear more about the a couple of ways that you've been applying AI, generative AI. Yep. We'll say that in the past year or so, because I think that's a good use to de-jerkify myself, if you will. And I think but things have changed. I wouldn't say so much, but a lot over the past year. So there's so many other little things that you might be able to do. So I don't know. I'm just curious, how else are you fitting that into your lifestyle system?
Well, for me, before generative AI, I always wrote emails kind of like AI writes them anyway, where I would take time to format them very nice. This is what I experienced. This is what I need you to do. These are the action steps with bullets and bold specific words. I would italicize action words. It's just the way I always wrote emails. And for years, people would say, I love communicating with you. You're so clear. And I'm like, I don't want you to fuck up. This is not about me being clear. I don't have time for your mistakes, right? So I'm going to the future, looking at your lack of time and making you know exactly what you need to do. It's not empathetic at all. It's more caring for me. But yeah, over the last year, I've noticed that, because the AI learns how I write, I use Airtable, and that Airtable AI is embedded. So I can change the model within Airtable to whichever one I want. I mean, there are some models that aren't particularly good with some parts of my life. Like if I'm being very sexual, I can't use OpenAI models for that because it just says no. You mention a three-way or some anonymous gay sex in the forest, it melts down. But Anthropic is great with anonymous gay sex. So, it's just.
Well, so in this area, I've been thinking about something. I didn't have this original thing. I think it was, I forget how to say his last name. The guy who takes a picture of himself for the last 30 years, or something.
I know him.
Yeah. So he has a great weekly show that like, I realized I love watching shows of old Gen X dudes. Just like these are literally my people, I guess. But he said something, he's a photographer, and he said something interesting. I've been pondering in the AI space is because at least most of the Gen AI things you have access to are so as you're saying, polite and censored. It's sort of like, so to put it one way, so much of art of all types would not exist in the future with that. Like there's like no nudity, no swearing. There's definitely no rock and roll, all these things. And so like, I don't know what to do with that, but it is an interesting like little point in time.
Well, how I ran into it was last year I was building a system for the city of Johnstown, New York, just north of me. And I was working with their police department, and I wanted to make Minority Report come true, right? So they had a bunch of cold cases, and obviously putting cold case data in the database, that's when I really learned the real limits on OpenAI. I mean, they are just, you mentioned knifing somebody and it just melts.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
So again, that's how I discovered Anthropic was just so loosey-goosey with its morals that we start. It really is. I mean, Anthropic is the slut of the database of the machine languages. But I started saying, this is really interesting. But then we said, well, and we actually solved the cold case. It's a news story. You can look Johnstown cold case, Google it. It's really cool. We used the system to solve it. Body was buried under the garage, like the one place no one thought to look. But the other thing I think that was really cool that you'll like a lot was there's a system that a lot of police agencies use here in New York called our New World. And it does everything from, time and attendance to motor vehicle accidents. So we took all the motor vehicle accident database and tied it live to the system. And then we piped in the weather, time of day, and any other like erroneous factors. And then we told it, find casualties. Someone was hit or someone was hurt. And we then now have it predict when to send cars to what intersections, depending on the time of day and weather. And it's nuts how cool it is.
Whoa.
I guess cool in that it works.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, this is amazing. I was almost 2 accidents today. I'm like, well, historically, sunny afternoons on Friday between 3 and 4 at Comrie Avenue and Main Street, there's an accident every 3 months, right? Except for the winter, right? Everybody's super calm in that intersection in the winter. It was just fun. But it's one of those things like, I don't know if you remember, Cote, but Coca-Cola flew me in back in 2016.
Yeah.
With freestyle machines. And they wanted me to help them figure out how to market freestyle flavors that people were mixing that they didn't know were popular. It was one of those moments where I was just like, oh, well, let's look at this. And yeah, it's fun. Sorry, I get way into this shit.
No, I love it. So that brings me to a question I had when you first described your most connected self with 700 sensors. You quickly said a thing in there you said, not only do you record that data, but somehow you have it give you advice about what to change. Tell me more about that little piece of
it's gone through iterations. I mean, originally I was using Yahoo Pipes to just pull the information and drop into the Google Calendar, and then Google Calendar will put it in the specific calendar, which was color coded. So like red things I knew were bad, so I'd go back at the end of the day and say, hey, what are all the red apportments? So like my calendar had hundreds and hundreds of appointments per day. The red ones were like behavior that was not good. But then it morphed over time. So after Pipes, you got into like 2011, 2012, early IFTTT and Zapier. I mean, Wade from Zapier knows me. I think I was probably, I almost broke his system like so many times of pushing those messages. But then again, it was not only going to the calendar, but it went to the calendar and was a certain category. It would push a text message to me or just something erroneous saying, hey, this is happening. This is product. Kind of like the pre-crime stuff we're doing for the motor vehicles.
What's an example? Like you're eating potato chips when you shouldn't, and you get a text message from yourself being like, yo, dude.
No, a really good one. So I've been in jail a lot for DUI. I've been in jail a lot for just disorderly conduct between 1997 and probably 2008 or 9. It was a good 10-year run of just living my best Paris Hilton. And then I tried to stop drinking. I went to AA. I did everything, and nothing was working. I mean, nothing was actually working. My friends didn't care because, as I learned later on, they loved it when I was drunk and putting stupid shit online, right? It's just like I was their TV, right? It was what it was. But so one of the first things I did was I geo-fenced the bar where I would go pick up gay hookers and get drunk and tried all sorts of drugs. And when I would go into the bar, the geofence would trigger. And then if I was there for an hour, no problem. But once I was there an hour and 2 minutes, it would actually send me a text saying, you know how this is going to end up, right? You're not going to make it to work on Monday because Friday you'd fly home from a gig, a consulting gig. And 2 hours and 2 minutes, it would then text the bartender. We knew her. She was also my drug dealer. Her name was Mama. She's in the book. And say, Mama, you've got to cut Chris off. It's not good. At this point, you're probably selling him Coke. At 3 hours, it would start taking photos from my phone because I was historically like a selfie drunk. And then texting them to my partner at the time saying, go pick up Chris. So it was levels of shame that I was introducing into myself as and it was always about catching myself. So if that makes sense, it was kind of like this multi-pronged approach. If I was in the mall and I was shopping too much, there's examples of this on all over the internet. I had Google Glass like 12 years ago too. And it was tied to a credit card at the time, which also had geofencing and budgeting capabilities. So if I knew I was at the mall and we were so many days before payday and I was over budget, it would start pushing me messages to Google Glass saying stop spending. And then I had a preset limit at 150 where we just cancel my own card. There would be no good until the next day.
And so it makes sense that you right now or the us who are like, oh yeah, putting all of those in place. That's good. What does it feel like to be the you who is at that bar or at the mall, having those gates running up against each?
Well, it's weird. I mean, at first it's like it's disturbing because you forget that you've put like social constructs into your life for that kind of stuff. Big mother, not big brother is like a real thing, except corporations do it to people, not you to yourself. And then it goes into almost like a novelty. Hey, look at this. Like, look what's happening. But then it very quickly, once you get over to the novelty of it all and the kind of, you start to realize, oh, this is fucked up. I can't change. I've got a problem here. It's almost like if you could take your AA sponsor to the bar with you, right? It's not going to work for very long. You're either going to lose your sponsor or he's going to get drunk. And if he's your sponsor, hopefully he's not drinking. I don't know why we're talking about AA so much. Is this even interesting? I'm
interested. I don't know. I can't speak for Cote.
Yeah, but absolutely. I like the idea that you're breaking IFTTT with all of these notifications being sent. And then at some point their SRA people are like, come over here. Check out what's in these logs.
It was crazy. I mean,
but is hour 3 at the bar? Are you really at that moment having a revelation? Can your revelation happen at that moment?
Well, no. Remember, hour 3, someone's dragging me out. That's when Doug got texted. Said, go get. Yeah. There's no revelation at hour 3. And to be honest, by hour 1, if I was in the right mood, I'd almost be gone. But you have to understand when you got any type of challenge where you're doing things, overeating, right? Oversexing, not thinking of others. I had geofences at the damn grocery store through most of the early 2010s just to remind me to talk to the cashier and not to pretend they weren't there. We just walk in the grocery store. Don't forget to say hi to the cashiers. I wasn't wired to be people-centric. So I had to actually introduce people back into my life through technology, which is just a whole other Oprah of a conversation.
I've been doing these Oprah conversations.
Yeah, I'm a Grandpa Cyborg. It was, I don't know, it was, now looking back, almost 20 years from I originally started these things. I'll be honest, I'm damn proud of myself. The stuff I did a decade ago, people are talking about the marvels of it now.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you should be proud of yourself. I can see like mass appeal for a lot of the things you're doing. Do you get people like, hey, is this a thing? Is this a product? Can I have it? How do I get it in my life?
That was the first question they asked me in my first major network television. Can we buy your thing?
Yeah.
No, I never built any. Well, that's a lie. There was a period of time where $1 billion software company hired me to build something I called Compass in 2015. And we got it about 6 months into it. And then there was a hostile takeover by the board, which gutted my division. And then Amber Case, who was helping me with it, she's a cyborg anthropologist. We all kind of went our own separate ways. And at that point, I just signed the book deal. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write this book. do this TV show because it has to do a show on Showtime called Darknet, and I'll just see what happens next. I don't need to productize this. And I don't know. I mean, I sometimes think about it. I still probably get an email once a month saying, I've watched everything you've ever said and did. Please help me, as if I'm some type of cyborg messiah. But I always tell people, just work through it on your own. But if you need just someone to talk to because life is hard, I'm here.
Yeah, like you said, Grandpa Cyborg. You're like, if you need me to unscrew a jar that's got some nails in it.
Right? Yeah. It's weird. Some people will ask like questions. I'm actually doing a talk in New York or Orange County in 2 weeks, 25 life hacks from Grandpa Cyborg. And I actually am going through a kind of like I use a plugin on my browser to block vanity metrics. I've used it for over 10 years. So I never see likes or comments or retweets or anything. It's just all the numbers are stripped. All the dates are stripped. It helps me. I use another plugin called Time Well Spent. When I'm shopping online, it converts all of the dollar amounts to hours I have to work. So the TV isn't like $2,000, it's 15 days or something like that. It's Time Well Spent. You can look it up. It's a great plugin. So there's like a lot of little like just easy hacks you can do just to work with your mind, data, and technology to kind of make it all easier.
So when I have almost zero experience, for lack of a better word, talking to like normals at conferences, like presenting to like civilians. And I think you do that a lot.
All the time.
Definitely. I don't even, probably like, what do you think? 80, 90%, like probably a lot of what you're doing is, to put it another way, people outside of the technology industry, right? Who are,
I am a robot from the future. I'm like that robot from, what's that? Metropolis. Remember the, she gets
so like, I don't know about you, Whitney, but I think you're like me, right? Like you mostly speak to tech people, like when you're out, like what have you learned to do differently for good, whatever. What do you do differently when you're talking to like normals about tech stuff? Like, like when you're talking to tech people about tech stuff, there's kind of like a set of, I don't actually know what it would be, but I have to think about it. But there's a way that you talk to them. But I imagine there's some things that you change and some things that you don't. But how do you do that?
Cote, I've never modified my speech for the audience. I will speak like I'm talking to you guys. I'll swear at a professional conference. What I found, though, is that I have a way of breaking things down technically to make them approachable, no matter what decade I've talked about them in. I don't know what it is. People seem to get, like when, you go back to 2009, 2010, when I started showing people this amazing Google Calendar. They got it. They had Google Calendars. They just didn't have, 71 of them tied by life mode, but they got it. When you go to password to 2014, 2015, I talk about, geolocation stuff and how that helped me. The phones were kind of doing it. They got it. Or they'd heard of the selfie person. They get it. I think the problem with non-technical people is people treat them like they're non-technical people. And it's 2025. Most people have been highly technical for 10 years. They just pretend not to know shit so they can talk to regular people.
Where it's like companies are every company's a tech company now, regardless.
Every company. I can't tell you. I mean, I do a lot of consulting for municipalities. So I travel to all these cities, build all these systems for cities now. I've learned that cities are just humans, without the biology. All the different like systems are there that kind of make a city run, and they get it. And usually it's the people who are like hanging on to that manual process. They've got every option in the world. It's not about the tech working or not working. They need their pain. They need the ugliness of that form. They need to hold it. They need to collect. They check or cash only for $8 between 7 and 3, and they will die on that hill because no one else is going to be the clerk. And there's not a lot I can do there except say, hey, you could have a QR code that just kind of told them your hours. So you almost like microdose them, right? So you slowly introduce people to it, or you show them, like this one lady I know, she hates all technology, but she's getting a lot of Spanish speaking people, right? So I just built her a little something where they'd scan a QR code and they would speak, but if they wanted, and it would then translate it in an email. She didn't even want to hear it, right? So she'd say, hold on, let me check my email, and it would come. So I think there's ways you can, almost like taking the carnival fish and putting them in the water, slowly in the bag. I think there's still a way through these people.
Wait, what's the carnival fish in a bag?
Well, you can't take a fish from the carnival and put him right in a bowl of water. You have to put his bag in the bowl of water until they kind of become the same.
Oh, right. Like that you're going to take back home to your aquarium. Right. Yeah. I've never bought a fish at a carnival. So I
didn't know. Actually, we won one 3 years ago, and she's huge now. I had no idea goldfish kept growing.
Got it. That makes sense.
In 10 years, when we do our next episode, this room will be an aquarium, and I'll...
And you won't look any different.
I know. I will be the goldfish.
So we spent a long time talking about the most connected thing, which is actually old news for you personally. And then when you talk about present tense, you've listed off quite a few different, very varied life experiences. So I'm curious, what is it you do in present tense?
I don't. I mean, I was really fortunate that the book deal and this TV show and the book got picked up for a movie. And I've been really fortunate that everything I touch had kind of gone well for me. Even when I left the software company, I had a nice exit package. So I got married in 2018, and my spouse is a school teacher, younger. So even though I'm close to 60, my spouse is 35, right? So we're going together almost 10 years. But no, I try to keep myself busy by, I don't like talking. I mean, Cote talked about me traveling, speaking. I actually don't like to do it that much. I will if it's tied to like something that I want to build. But most of the time now, I'll just kind of build little things for municipalities, or I do a lot of nonprofit, basically, Code for Good. I built a black speaker system a few years ago, which became wildly popular to hire black and brown speakers because they weren't getting hired enough. I built something called the Advocator at the beginning of COVID. So depending on like what your challenges were, whether you felt marginalized for whatever these I have 5 reasons, it would actually advocate on your behalf and help you speak the language of the professional, whether it be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, look up local codes and laws and actually advocate on your behalf. I love stuff like that. But do I have a regular job? No, I don't think anyone would hire me.
How do people find you for the things that you're doing? Like, how did you end up helping with cold cases?
Well, so when I moved, you actually nailed the very transition point from like most connected person to like the software person I am now. So I moved to upstate New York after like spelunking climate and crime. I called it the 4 C's of the apocalypse: climate, crime, chaos, and COVID. So I splunked those 4 data points back in 2020, 2021, and I tried to find places in the United States that could be more resilient for what was happening, because you guys know the world's a hot mess. Yes. So I found a strip up here by the Adirondack Mountains, just south of them, kind of the Capital Region West, the Capital Region North. I bought a house up here, and I was here about a year, and there's a manhole cover in front of my house that's very loud. And, we're talking about 115, 120 decibels. So I just started doing a measuring on it. And then the speed limit is 25 in town, but most people are doing 35. So I set up 3 speed cameras, or 3 cameras that would actually triangulate the speed based on where the truck was coming and when it left the 3rd camera, and then grab pictures of the license plate and the DOT number, and then shame the trucks online. So, hey, your truck was speeding. This is it. This is how fast it was going. Well, the county reached out to me and said, why are you doing this? The distribution center is core to our economy. And I said, that manhole cover is core to my fucking sleep. And I've asked you to fill it for
sleep.
Yeah, I could show you. I will show you how you were fucking up my sleep. So they actually had me come in and they said, well, could you help us with this? And I said, well, the biggest problem is, we need to lower the speed limit. We need to run an actual traffic study. We need to see what's going on. So I built them a little something for that to do that. And then I helped them built them something to write a grant. And now we're in 2022, 2023. And then it just they told another county. Then I got invited to New York State's kind of counties event where all the counties come. And they asked me to speak about the 2 things we did. And then it was just everybody wanted a piece.
So this gets to this gets to something I was interested in hearing more about. And I don't know, maybe you just went over an example of it. But let's go back to that QR code to speak to people who speak Spanish, right? Yeah. And so I don't know what word you would use. You've got a municipal application, right? That you have, and
I built widgets.
Right, sure.
Yeah. I have a city platform. Yeah, I have a city platform we sell now but it got started by building these little widgets.
Right, and so in both cases, but especially with the Grandpa Cyborg's widget garage, like just kind of building stuff, like how it seems like introducing software into any large organization is difficult, let alone like bureaucracies.
No,
or like
I know where you're going with this. It's kind of like where Whitney was going with this. So I told you, remember I worked at ServiceNow, right?
Yeah, of course.
I come from BMC. Right.
Yeah.
So
so what's the like? How do you make it stick? Like what are the constraints or the problems that you've worked around such that it works? That someone does something.
So you guys are getting to this meat now because Whitney went right to like, how did you get to do all this? So it's really strange. So I know from historically doing enterprise software, like actual enterprise software. It's teams of salespeople, sales engineers. Teams of developers, promises, certificates of insurance. It's a nightmare, right?
More promises.
Yes, it's a nightmare. But to me, I don't know if this is just true in general, but to me, I crack the code if people Google me and believe he can walk on water. I literally get into these organizations because of my name, nothing else.
And so after you get in there, like, how, so for example, and like how do you make sure the QR thing keeps running, or is that like not an issue, or like?
Okay, but it's all, most of the stuff I build is on Airtable.
Yeah.
I use a front end called Pori, but I've switched now to Zeit. And then if someone needs to scale up beyond Airtable, I use Xano as a back end. But I just build cloud-based software in named licenses at that organization. It's never mine. It's not like this is something I can recreate. You know what I mean? I have to do it for each time I do it for someone. But the idea was, I remember when I was at BMC and we were trying to get people to adopt our IT app. So it was 2011, 2012, and nobody wanted an app for service management or DevOps. No one wanted to talk about it, right? This was going to be, cloud software just became non-heresy in 2012, right? We still have people who wanted co-location in 2012, right? So an app was like a bridge too far for most of these freaks. But I kind of learned at that point, you had to make it really interesting for them. Like, oh, this is novel. And then find a few kind of fun people. All I did was I literally took the same stuff we did to get people to use cloud, get people to use app, and to get them to use low code. And low code, no code is just as, I guess, polarizing now as those two other kind of paradigm shifts were. And I'm telling you, once I literally in a demo will build something in front of them and they're like, I can do that. And I'm like, of course you can. Yeah, when do you want to start? And it just, I don't know. I'm probably making it sound too easy, but it's been easy.
Well, I mean, everyone's always going on with the phrase that like the technology is easy, the culture is hard, right? And so like
yeah, but that's why I talked about the lady who didn't want, who clings to her cold dead hands that paper process.
Exactly, and so that's another side. Another side of the topic is like, to put it another way, there's a lot of software out there looking to solve a lot of problems, and like it's also hard to match is the wrong word. It's hard to get people to use the software, as you were saying, right? And so like,
you gotta remember you remember when we called it COTS, commercial off-the-shelf software, COTS?
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm going to sound that old, but all software that's designed like that, or enterprise management software, it's designed to fit a specific problem universally, and then you pay for professional services to fine-tune it. I come in with the opposite approach. I come in and go, puke your problems right here, right now, and we will scoop up the puke and heal you by building something specific to your problems. You just can't do that with normal software.
So maybe that's something that's a little bit of an answer there. Is there are more problems to solve with software that involve very simple applications
100%
that you can build and customize rather than a general purpose
just need to see the sausage getting made for their particular problem. Some people like spicy sausage, some people like Polish sausage, and as a gay man, I like all sausage. But seriously though, what we really had to do was we had to focus on making people's problems visible, right? We used to go in like with all the software, hoping we understood them. Now I just go in and go, what's going on here? I know when I walked in, I took a picture of the front. You've got like 15 forms people have to fill out before they can even film the building. And I took one of them, it's right here. Let's do this right now in front of us. And I'll build a back end for it. I'll put a nice form on it. I'll create a one-page website that says, I built a whole system for open enrollment in the car because I saw an open enrollment sign at the front of a building before I was going in to meet the people. And they're like, this open enrollment solves everything. We've been asking our vendor to do this for 10 years. I'm like, well, you had the actual answers on your form that you need, and how you've already done the work, right? So, I don't know. Maybe.
It's almost like the delegation of responsibility of who should be doing whatever it is falling between the cracks. And you're just like, hey, here's
because
the
we
stuff.
know how it is, Whitney. We leave it up to IT, and IT will procure it. But now, you've got we started with salespeople. They wanted their own sales force. It's like a whole thing. But now everybody comes in. I can't tell you how many millennials I meet that go, why are we using this for calendaring? I've got this app that manages my dog. And I'm like, oh, I remember this, like, when I measured my dogs. So it's like people are at that point where they want to have their own voice, but they don't trust that, no organization's going to trust any app that a millennial says, this solves my whole family's business problem. But if you go in and say, hey, millennial, how you like how the app works, let's build it together. I don't know. It seems to work. I think I might be early on to like a thing that's going to start happening in enterprises where you don't hire developers, you just hire people who listen to people's problems. Kind of like Lucy with, tell me your problems for 10 cents and I'll make you something right now, like Charlie Brown on the keyboards. I don't know. I think there's a there.
Do you think that, like you were kind of mentioning this earlier, but I don't know, to put it in a silly way, like I don't know if computer literacy is like a job requirement on want ads anymore, because you just assume people know about the computers. And like you were kind of getting to this is, do you think sometime in the next 10 or 15 years that the older people will retire and the people coming in will all be those people with the dog app, and they'll just
I'm seeing more of that now, but what's crazy is like even the clerk I was talking about, she understands certain tech functions. Like she pays a bill and she tries to pay it like a day early. It gives her a warning. She gets that. So I almost have to translate her problems into like her digital experience at home. Because she deals with all this stuff, right? But no one takes the time to say, hey, you know how you're waiting for it? Like, for example, she was frustrated because like people kept trying to upload things that are too big. I said, well, have you ever tried to upload like a resume or help your son upload a resume? And it says it'll only take a PDF. She said, yeah. I said, well, that's a constraint on the field. We can actually put a constraint on your field. What do you want it to be? Oh, I can pick. Yeah, you wouldn't accept anything from any stranger on the street. You're not the Jehovah's Witness of clerks, right? So let's go ahead and seriously. So once they get their head around it, but you'd have to make the time to fucking listen to people. And understand that, I mean, we all have a shared experience of being online. This is not hard. The reason people are so freaked out is because they only have 5 reactions they can have depending on their device or service. If I gave you only 5 feelings for the rest of your life, you'd probably freaked out all the time too. But we're not looking at the experience of being human and full-time connected. And I've been doing it for 20 years, so I got this.
Speaking of looking at the experience of being human, like I was thinking, like every experience of being human that you personally have, the way you're connected, you have data to back up everything you think and feel. What's that like, I guess? Or like, imagine that was gone and you no longer could say, oh, I have the data to back that up. Do you like super duper trust your view of things because you've been able to back it up with data? Or would you flail a little bit?
I used to say in interviews, if I'm physically with someone, I can usually give you their vitals without like having a device. And I used to have this cute little line, like, what type of witchery is this? You know my blood pressure by looking at me. And, it's an old thing. Doctors were doing it long before we had lots of other stuff. But, I used to say that if you wear a sensor long enough, you become one. I think that's the reason. I once was teaching. Had to teach a class at Dartmouth on reading phones. I do this thing called phone palmistry. They hired me to come up and teach all these new doctors how to look at a person's device of a non-responsive person and try to figure out what's going on in their world. But at that time, I got moved from the regular emergency doctors over to the psychiatrists, and I was talking to a bunch of resident psychiatrists. And they're like, what types of things would like really like freak you out if you're looking at a phone? I said, would you ever meet these people and they get a phone and when you first get a phone, it's got like the default icons on the phone screen and they're not changed and you have to swipe to the seconds. Those people are creepy. Every psychiatrist has the default app, right? So they're all like white, right? And I'm like, what's going on? Like, we all have that. We thought it was kind of interesting, but no, it's just the way you people are wired. You hide behind the second screen, right? Some people live full throttle on the front screen, widgets and the whole bit. But yeah, so your question was, would I trust it if all was gone? Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I feel fucking powerful as fuck. Just because I just can look at how people behave online. But I told Cote a long time ago, I was a help desk tech in the 90s. I would look at people's desktops and go, you messy bitch. Like, do not, they've just put everything all over the screen. You know what I mean? And like, for me, they would have any folder organization, and your personality comes out. It's like psychological skeuomorphism. It comes out in how you use your devices and how you design them. And, people with a wide screen versus a monitor. I mean, it's a whole thing. Sorry, I'm probably going way too far.
No, I think this is great. I actually have a really, really strange home screen, and I wonder can I show it to you? It's very.
I'll do a live reading.
So you have to watch the video, or Chris, you can describe my home screen. Let's see if it'll come into focus.
Oh, I kind of see it. It almost looks like one of those minimalist home screens.
Yeah.
Now, is that your first screen?
Yeah, that's the first
one.
one.
And you have 2 icons on the bottom?
2 icons on the bottom, and then it's all black with a list of white words.
Yeah, so I like
and you can click on the white words.
Yeah, so it looks
and
like
then it's also the device itself has no decoration whatsoever. Despite in my life, I'm rather a colorful person.
So obviously, when I would see that, the first thing I would say to you if I was reading your phone is, I'd notice the home bar. You only have 2 icons on there. You're someone who's very focused on the things you're doing, the people in front of you. The fact the camera is on, I think it was on the. Are you right-handed?
Yeah.
So is it the first icon you hit with your finger?
No, it's the second one. The first one is Anki, which is a flashcard deck.
Of course.
Oh, I didn't even think that.
Whenever you see the camera on the home bar, it's just someone who's very into the kind of what I would call their mind's eye intuition. They can read people really fast. I mean, the rest of your screen just screams, I would do anything not to let my mind control me. Just because you've like kind of created this whole system, you don't want to have your mind have dominion over you. You want to have dominion over your mind. But you'll work through it. You're still young.
Oh, I'm not that young, but
now wait. No, I have 2 follow-up questions. One for you, Whitney. How do you have just text on your screen? What is that? Is that some widget that you have on there?
Dumbify. It's a
Oh,
okay.
It makes smartphones dumb.
Yeah.
Right. Go on.
Not wanting my mind to have control over me. I guess I want to keep control over my mind or over more base impulses or like tech shenanigans. Like I want to be in control. I don't want my attention to be able to be hijacked at any moment.
And again, I mean, what you've done with your phone is, a good level 6 or 7 cyborg. Right?
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean,
I identify as being a benevolent robot. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you understand that that's your nature. There's nothing more beautiful than knowing yourself, even if you consider yourself a benevolent robot or someone who's anti-tech. Again, I just love these digital Amish people. Like, I don't use my iPhone. I don't. At dinner, we put them up. How do you have that much money where you can avoid checking your phone for the millions of things that need to be done or the millions of people who are trying to get you? I just hate the whole judgment of the whole, like, technology is ruining people. No, it might be ruining you, but like, I'm doing great. I am doing absolutely amazing. I have every possible record to show you that I'm doing okay. Do I have bad days? Yes, but they're not because of technology. They're because of other people. And I measure those fuckers too. So like, I'm not too worried about like that. I'm just more worried about like, if you look at the whole pandemic, like we spent from 2014 to 2020 telling kids their phones were horrible and their phones were gonna kill them, right? We spent 7 years telling children the phones were bad. The pandemic comes and what do? We lock them in their bedrooms with their phones. So suddenly all the kids are depressed. The killer is inside the house, right? They don't have a choice but to use it the way they're gonna use it. So I'm just real careful when when I allow people to tell me about technology and pass judgment on it, right? Just, pass judgment on behaviors, not people.
Well, then my second question is not about judgment, it's about analysis. And that is, so you noted the camera icon. What does it mean when someone uses that side button as their camera button? And they don't even have like a camera on the screen.
I only do visual. I mean, I will look at the case. I do look at cases. And then case protection. So if you ever see someone with a case and a screen protector, lots of trauma, like 100%, they come from you'll never meet someone with a picture of a pet that's on one screen and on the other if the pet's alive. Most of those pets are almost always dead. So I don't ever look at button usage. The closest I get to being weird beyond phone palmistry is frequently used emoji.
Is that something that your system tracks?
No, because I use a lot of emoji, but I don't actually look at like which emoji I use. It's just
really.
Well, no,
of all the things.
Well, because emojis, I don't use them on myself. I use emojis with other people. And usually, like, my emojis first, when I use them with other people, it's more about thinking about what they need at that moment. So, because I can't send an emotion, so I send it an emoji, right? Emotion's right in the word. So, an emotional icon. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I use emojis. For me to try to figure out, like, I could send you the eggplant, but I'd send it to Whitney. It could mean two different eggplants, right? So like me trying to determine what my eggplant meant is really contextual to who I'm sending it to.
Huh. But your system doesn't like analyze emojis flowing through it, like to kind of like figure out what the and not that it should, but you're making me think like that would be interesting to do a study of like, I don't even know what it is, but just to know how people use this stuff.
Well,
and
I'm
what
telling
it
you,
means.
the frequently used emojis, ask your partner, ask your kids, just pull up the emoji to keyboard, look at the frequency. There's some freaky shit going on with people. Ugly shit going on with people. But I think maybe that's why I don't do it. It's like, to Whitney's point earlier, is there something you don't track? That to me is too telling. I've always considered emojis to kind of almost be
they're self-explanatory. Yeah.
Yeah, they are kind of, they are. I mean, I remember speaking of the 2000s and 2010s. Well, this would be interesting to hear from both of you. Is like, my reaction to emojis back then was like, I don't ever want to use this. This is ridiculous. And now I even do the like tap back thing. Like I wouldn't say I use a lot of emojis, but I don't think like that anymore. And I wonder, so we'll start with you, Whitney. Was there ever a point where you're like, emojis are stupid? And then did you get beyond that? Or were you always like, this is fantastic. I love the bowl of noodles. That's how I'm going to communicate to people.
I have my ASCII emojis that I use instead of
this. Yes, I should have remembered that.
Yeah,
Whitney has like a handcrafted emoji suite that she uses.
So cute.
I built myself a text replacement keyboard, and then I have cute ASCII emojis. So I made them my own, and then I do very much appreciate the like being able to like press a heart on someone's text message and being able to acknowledge that I read it and that I like it without having to interrupt their day or mine. Yeah. Best thing.
Yeah, but again, there's only 5 reactions for that. I mean, they've now allowed you in the last release on iOS to open up the entire emoji keyboard. You're not limited to those 5 anymore. But Whitney, I know you know what I meant. It was hard for a while only having 5 emotions to tap back with. And again, find me one article about that. It doesn't exist. Yet there were a billion people struggling to respond to someone else. So I don't know. I think there were bigger problems than infrastructure. We needed the whole emoji suite for reactions. That, a lot of world peace could have been solved by implementing that earlier.
The importance of the UTF board is underappreciated.
Yes. I actually had to speak at the emoji conference for Unicode one year. And they wanted me to do emoji, kind of emoji tarot readings. So I created this whole system to kind of like people would pick 4 emojis and I'd give them their future. It was kind of a whole thing, but.
Oh yeah, that's so. How about you, Chris? What did you used to think emojis were silly and you crossed it, or?
I thought they were stupid. I thought they were like an influencer thing because people started using them like crazy. I'd say, right in 2012, 2013, you started seeing a lot of people using emojis. Like the first time I saw an emoji on LinkedIn, I thought, what is wrong with you? This is a scream for help. I almost wanted to send a Reddit cares message, here's a crisis line for you. There's no need to do that. And now emojis are everywhere. So yeah, I went through a very judgmental phase on emojis. I went through a real judgmental phase on memes. It wasn't until about a year, maybe 2 years ago, that I started to say, okay, I get memes. And it was just my age. I didn't grow up with them, so I didn't understand they were emotional replacements. They were valid responses to a situation. To me, that never wasn't. So it was stupid. Why would you send someone, the guy with the hat or the little girl looking like, I didn't get it. And once it kind of clicked, I'm like, I got it. And then I became almost a meme reaction wizard because I have a vast catalog of cultural artifacts I can pull up on memes.
Are memes and GIFs the same thing?
I mean, I put all of that under kind of meme territory. I mean, GIF reactions, I know what you're saying. Like memes GIFs almost have replaced memes. Like Giphy has become a whole, I don't remember who purchased Giphy, but it's become like a whole emotional replacement system versus where memes kind of were the first version of that. But people still use memes. You still see it. To me, Whitney, to your point, I prefer GIF reactions again because there's everything. And if I don't have one, I'll go to YouTube, take a scene from a movie, and just capture it and turn it into a GIF.
That's a lot of work.
Oh, sometimes some people freaking need it. I can't tell you how many times I've needed scenes from The Advocate where Al Pacino plays the devil.
I have a question. You must have some firsthand experience with Goodhart's law, with when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to become a good measure. Yeah. So far, you're talking about observing behavior, but we haven't talked about it in the context of goals.
Yeah.
Did you give yourself goals, or were you purely observing?
I did in the beginning, but goals kind of started to strangle me. I became hostage to my goals. What I do now, and I had to really do it once I got married. So, you think about my journey from 2008 to 2018, it was really solo. Met my partner in 2016. We got married in 18. I had to change what a goal looked like because it didn't work for me, and it definitely didn't work for him, who he's not task oriented. If I gave him a task list, he wouldn't know what to do with it. He does like whatever he wants, whereas I'm very, I have a calendar. He wouldn't know what a calendar is. He's a freaking school teacher. I'm like, you're a school teacher because you don't know how to use clocks and calendars. You show up and shit just happens. That's why you're a school teacher. But we had to change this idea of goal oriented into what I call intention mindseted. So what we did was, instead of like, hey, we have this goal that we're going to eat better all the week, we had an intention, and we have an intention system we built on Miro, where we put our intentions tied to our family values. And then we do these sticky notes once a week. So we did really good with this intention. We didn't do not so good with that intention. Attentions kind of allowed us to start doing kind of affirmation talk. So like, hey, you've done really good in this area when it's not aligned to specific intention. Sorry, I'm getting woo-woo for a second.
No, it's great.
Just that switch. You intend to do this was a lot easier than we have a goal of completing this.
I think that's great too, because sometimes once you complete a goal, then you lose the drive to keep doing that thing. You're like, I did the thing, I'm done now.
Well, and then some of them, I had a really goal to stay a certain health, a certain weight, a certain exercise level. I had a lot of certain things. And then what I realized into that journey where I was doing super well, just ridiculously fit for someone as old as I was at the time, it was hard to have friends.
Yeah.
Because people don't eat like you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have people to hang out with because people don't want to exercise like you do. So there's certain negotiation with goals you need to have if you want to have people. Yeah. You can accomplish anything with the right set of goals, but you will do it alone.
So talk more about that, because I was thinking, I'm getting give me some free therapy here. I was thinking I'm getting at whatever intention stage in my life where like I don't really want to spend like 4 hours hanging out with people and just having just like drinking and talking and doing this, not to Chris Dancy levels of drinking, but
I don't do that anymore.
I should have put the year in there, but yes, I would be fine not to do that. But then I had the thought that you were saying is like, but then I would never see anyone. I mean, that's exaggerating. I would see people, but they're like, how do you refactor, so to speak, or rejigger things around so that it works?
Yeah. So what I had to do was I had to create this value system. Like I said, health, home, family, work, finance, service, right? I had to create this system in my life and define each of those and put guardrails around them. I then had to say, if I'm going to, if I factor I'm living till about 82, I had to take that whole thing. And then I had to remove the parts of my life for which I was no longer actually in control of my behavior. So up until, mid-teens, and then right past my late 70s when I possibly am not completely with it or, able to control my bowels. Right? So it left me a good chunk of time in the middle that I had to say, what would the time spent look like that? And then I had to just distribute it more evenly, right? Because to your point, you could, you don't want to sit around with people for 3 hours just talking and drinking and stuff like that. You've got a family and you want to spend time alone. You just have to decide, hey, there's all peaks and valleys in that. And I go through times. I stopped worrying about, I'll be honest with you, whether I keep people in my life or not. I had to learn real quick that friends are for a season, not a reason. Because reasons change. Seasons are forever. That was hard. It's been hard to let go of my understanding of what people meant to me, to understand that I mean more. and to kind of make wherever I am at that point okay without hurting other people intentionally. Because again, I'm not saying just, I know I said earlier, just fire people, but you got to kind of train people a little bit on what you need so that maybe they'll come along for that part of your day or that part of your year or that part of your half. But sometimes they won't, and that's okay. And how to say that in a way that felt approachable and kind. And what I've found, I'll just end with this. What I have found is I've learned to articulate my needs in a way that make other people aspire to be more. And that in itself is the greatest act of love I can show anyone.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like the you want to put people on a personal improvement program before you outright fire them.
Yes.
Right. And then part of that is, as you're saying, like helping them figure out how to fit in your organization, like seeing what you can do to guide that, and then eventually you move along. But then before that, you also said you do have to kind of like mark out some areas where you're not maniacally focused on being your best self. Like sometimes you just want to go hang out and not worry about it. But as long as you kind of like fit that into the calendar with the 256 colors, it'll be fine. Right?
I have things to add. I have things to add. For one is like a friendship, I think, is a two-way street. So like you may be asking them to, this is what it looks like to fit into my life and to be a friend to me. But also you should be aware of what they need and not just come to me or get lost. Like they're
That's fair. That's fair.
And second of all, in terms of, I've made some pretty extreme life decisions. Like I'm vegan, I'm sober, I keep a strict schedule. But these are my defaults. If I don't have any other things acting on my system, I'm going to live a day that looks exactly like this healthy patterned day. But then if I get invited to do something and it's worth staying out late to go to this concert or worth whatever, breaking one of my tenets for an experience or for a friendship, it can happen. There's room for that to happen every once in a while.
And that's perfect. I mean, you have a default, you have a boot ROM that says these are the things that I boot up with. And then throughout the day you have, things that happen, exceptions, like your version of a blue screen, which don't fit in the default, but you experience it and come back the next day. And I think that's kind of, sorry to use tech terms, but I think that's kind of what I was saying. And Whitney, I want to go back to what you said. I meet because my husband's, significantly younger, I meet a lot of people his age who say, I can't find friends. I am lonely. And you said, Whitney, you said friendship is a two-way street. I don't know at what point we lost the plot, but this idea that friendship is something you can find online. No, you find people's issues, you subscribe to them like a magazine or a Netflix, right? My husband and I are blocked on all social media and have been since day one. I'm never going to know what he's like online because I live with him, right? And then young people don't understand, to have friends, step one, be a friend.
Yes.
Step one, to have friends. If you have no friends, step one, be a friend. Well, how? What starts out with a stranger? Well, how does that work? Well, you would see them at the gas station. Just say, hey, how are you? Next time you're there or something, say, hey, I think I remember you from last time. I love the shirt, right? Whatever that thing is, right? You're almost like taking sticks and rubbing them like you just discovered you've got skin and you want to meet someone else with skin and stay warm, right? And then this slowly builds over time to where you start to introduce, names and you meet, and then you become friends. I have more new friends than I've ever had for the last 5 years, but I show up as a friend to all relationships, just the way I am. And all of it. I don't hide. There's nothing going to surprise you later. And people tend to know what I need right away. Oh, he expects a call back. I do not text people to see if I can call. I'm already on the fucking phone. Right? I can't tell you how many people will text, can I call? You're already on the phone. The next step would have been so much easier, but now you've wasted more time. Or I would have called, but I thought you were busy. Then you will never call because your perception of me will never change. Sorry, I get really freaked out about people's inability to just be human.
I think there's like a way of making yourself vulnerable in person too that has become uncomfortable for the young people.
Yes, if you look at them too much, like make eye contact. So I literally practice being distracted so I can talk to young people. Because if not, they get really uncomfortable very quickly. I have to, did you hear that? I heard nothing. But it gives them a moment to take a breath because they're usually holding their breath for the whole sentence.
Yeah.
Or the other thing I've learned, like if I'm in a store and everybody's too busy and you can't get anyone's attention, standing perfectly still like this. Someone comes up and says, "Are you okay?" And right away you get help like that. So there's a million kind of like organic hacks you can do to make people feel more comfortable without, because you give someone your full attention. It's kind of like, who's the guy in X-Men who's got the band and
Cyclops.
Yeah, it's like if I give someone my full attention, it's almost like being burned.
I can't handle it.
Everybody, I have Mordor, right? They just, even in like sales demos, I have to like crack a stupid joke because I just feel people getting uncomfortable with the level of awareness they're at. But you know what I'm saying? You have to build the awareness level really fast because I'm somewhere between robot and dose of acid. And on that spectrum, it's hard to converse. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have the last question, which it's just nerd stuff. Nothing helpful for life. But I as you mentioned, you used to have a Google Glass. You let me wear it once. It was fantastic. Good stuff. Now, so I have been wondering this past year or so, what do you think of the Apple Vision Pro? Have you tried that out? Do you like it?
Please explain what it is before you answer the question.
It's right here. She's behind glass.
So it's the how about you describe it, Chris? So
I've done it all, right. So I have these for every day. They're bifocals because I'm older, and they've got the cameras and the AI in them and everything else. And I've got the Apple Vision. I think Apple Vision, to describe it, is what Apple calls spatial computing. So it's kind of like virtual reality. If you're familiar with virtual reality, you've never heard of it, but it's a large monitor, basically, you put on your head. And it's got cameras that can see out. So even though you can't see out because you're looking at screens, you can't see anything, you can see the world around you digitally. So if you've ever seen The Matrix, it's like entering the Matrix. All of a sudden, and you're red-pilled into an environment. So that's Apple Vision Pro. And the whole idea and the promise of spatial computing is you can work on things around you without having to stare at a screen. Ironically, your eyes become screens. So I will leave that one alone for a moment. But the idea you're not limited to be computing and living. You're doing both. Because from working with computers, you're either computing or you're living, or with your phone, you're kind of doing this hybrid thing, but then people blame your attention. They're like, look at me while I'm talking to you. I'm being distracted because you're angry and it makes me uncomfortable. This is like a whole thing I'm doing now. So my experience, my impression of it, I mean, I bought two of them for my spouse and I. We got rid of his. I think it's interesting. It's much too much to use for any length of time, just I think because of the weight. I've done interesting things with it that I've shown around the country. The first thing I did with it, because it has this idea of stereoscopic cameras. So basically it can take almost three-dimensional photos.
Right.
But what I did was I went through my little village, the village of Fonda. If you go to villageoffonda.com, that's my site. And I took pictures of all the buildings. And then I went back to the archives and found matching pictures throughout the last 150 years. And then I converted those pictures to be spatial also. So I now can go out and Minority Report the village through decades while I'm standing in front of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. The other thing we do is we film in spatial the house. We've been here 3 years now, every season. So the whole house gets different lights. It's the whole PersephoneManor.com. Different lights, different smells, all the gadgets. And then the house slowly changes over the seasons. But I wanted to be able to see the house through all the years at once. So you can put them on again and go to a room and be in that room, like pick a date on a calendar and go back to that time.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. And you also have a giant screen. I mean, if you wanted to put multiple images on there to look at them all sorts of stuff. Okay.
Or the room can melt into the old image. That's what I like.
Yeah, exactly. So do you think I mean, it seems like using I know Occam's razor is a little oddly applied with this kind of thing, but like it seems like the failure for the Vision thing to like just be the next iPhone at the moment is basically just like awkwardness and price. Like functionally, it seems great.
Yeah, I'd say awkwardness more than price, because I think even if they made the price $1,100, people would still struggle to find a use case for it. Because even with the eyes, because it's got reverse screens, so you've got screens that I can't see. The only you can see have my eyes on it, so it looks like I'm looking at you. Wink, wink. And people think you're weird now when you're not paying attention. It's really weird when you're pretending to look while you're watching porn.
You've hired a robot to pretend like you're paying attention.
No, you don't need to watch porn and look at someone at the same time. It's just wrong.
Yeah.
I think even if they got rid of that, I think the challenge with Vision Pro, it needs to come down to this form factor. It just needs to. And they've all got versions now that have the screens. And again, Cote, it goes back to Google Glass. I mean, that was, in my mind, the perfect form factor. It did everything right. Now you took something like that with AI, and it's got the camera, and it's, I will never forget the first time I was in Google Glass, and I was in an airport, and I didn't know where my gate was, and Google Glass just said this way with an arrow, gate 7. I thought, and I didn't have to look at anything. I just thought to myself, this is it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's good. I don't have a firsthand review myself, but that I'm going to add that to the pile. Yeah, over in my digital table.
Widgets, they're kind of cool, but then you have to wear them to see them. So to walk around and see like the cute photos and things. To me, that's why if I'm going to use them, I did the village or my house. I wanted kind of an alternate reality. Stephen Mann, kind of the father of modern cyborgs. He's the great grandpa of cyborgs. When he was at MIT, him and his group created their first rig. Use pictures if you look up Stephen Mann Cyborg online. But they did basically diminished reality, where he took, and this is how I got so good with alternate realities, where they took the camera headset that he was wearing, and in the town he lived, he replaced all the street signs, the advertisements, with messages from his wife. So the idea was, it was like you were diminishing the ugliness of the world and replacing it with useful things. We're not quite there with any of this technology yet, but if I had my way, we'd be there tomorrow. There's a bunch of psychological conditions and traumas and other things that people really do not have a good use for without, being chemically altered in some way that could help, with the sound, if you had like immersive sound and things. Hell, even the phone now has the immersive background sounds. Whitney, have you seen this?
No.
Where you have, on your phone, on your iPhone now, they have these, in the control center, they have immersive background sounds.
Uh-huh.
And you can turn them on. They've got like a, bright ocean, rain, stream.
Oh yeah, and they're reading about that.
And they play while you're using the phone, right?
Oh.
So I think this idea of being almost, like I said earlier about the goldfish, it's happening. I'll just end with this. It's I'm a kid from the 70s, so commercials from the 70s really are with me all the time. And there's a commercial in the 70s for Palmolive dish soap. And there was this lady named Madge. And Madge was a nail salon technician, and she would do people's nails. And her secret was she'd soak their hands in Palmolive to make their nails easier to do. And the apex of the commercial was always, if you could use Palmolive dish soap, it keeps your hands soft. And the lady would go, I would never, dishes ruin my hands. She goes, you're soaking in it. And she'd go, oh, I am. And she'd be like, oh, she didn't know. It's amazing. And I think technology is a lot like that now. People don't realize how immersed they are. They don't realize how far they've gone, and how much it's just taking over their very psyche. And for that, I pray for the will of people to kind of wake up and embrace it and just decide to say, my values come first, and I'll use the technology, and it'll be shaped that way. Not the technology gave me my set of values. I'm an asshole to everyone I meet. And that's what most people are doing right now.
Well, I think they're also having listened to this episode, which has been great. We haven't talked in a long time, Chris. I see you from far online, and it's been great to catch up. It's always good.
I just think it was great seeing you too. I think I told you when I first met you, I was a fan of yours forever. And all the stuff you had done. You had a guy named John. What was John's? Do you remember John?
John Willis?
Yes.
Yeah. He's still around.
You and John, and you've always been, and you went through your own health transformation. I say this with the greatest reverence. I aspire to be as cool as you are.
Oh, well, I'll have to think on that for a while. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, you're very cool. You're cool in a way that's approachable that most people don't have. Yeah, you're lucky to be with you.
Oh, well, I'll write that down in my gratitude journal. That's
right.
Good. Well, speaking of wanting to be with cool people, if people wanted to be with you online somewhere, You've already listed, I think, maybe 15 domain names. You don't answer it now. We'll save it for the next time we talk. But it makes me wonder, how many domain names does Chris have? Which
it should be called Go Grandpa Cyborg, not Go Daddy. I have a lot of domains. Everything in my life is a domain. My husband has one. I have one. All of our businesses, our dogs have their own domains. To me, domains are like driver's licenses for cyborgs. You need one if you want to be on the internet.
As they're supposed to be. They're human readable IP addresses.
I mean, 100%. Nice. Until I can get a MAC address tied to my DNA, I'm not going to. But no, chrisdancy.com. The site's been there forever. But the most important way, 720-936-9192 is my phone number. Just call. I tell people all the time when I do talks, I put my phone number on. If you ever have a problem, you're ever freaking out, or you just don't know, or this was entertaining, you can text. I'm here for you. I know how hard it is to feel alone. I know how hard it is to struggle. And more than anything, if you're listening to this right now and you think, that was kind of cool, he just gave me his phone number, 720-936-9192. I promise I will pick up the phone or call you right back and chat as long as you need. It's okay. It'll be okay. I promise.
Well, I'll have to go update my contacts. And I don't even know what my phone number is. So that's.
You don't know your phone number? How do you not know your phone number?
I have a Netherlands phone number, which is like 10 characters long. I guess I have a trick. I know my U.S. phone number, but I don't.
You don't have it forwarded to your Netherlands?
No, because I got dual SIMs, so I have 2 lines. And
okay, you're fine.
Yeah. Anyways, well,
I love my phone number.
Yeah. Well, that was yeah. Well. Speaking of things that you love, if you've listened this far, you must love this podcast, which you can find at softwaredefinedinterviews.com/105. And we'll catalog some of the links that were in there. And if you don't subscribe to it and you've listened this far, you should really subscribe to it. Also, we have the YouTube channel if you want to check that out, whatever you like. And there's also a Slack channel. I'd love to get Chris's thoughts on Slack, but I'm not going to ask at all. But we established it in our defense, Chris, long ago with my other podcast when it was a thing. And it's still fine. It's actually kind of fun now because we're on the free tier. It has that disappearing knowledge. It just it only keeps a month worth of knowledge, and then it's gone.
Oh really? Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I was on free. Yeah. Slack's cool. I guess I don't know. I don't understand it. That's probably 5 years from now. I'm like, I finally get it. It confuses me. I try to log in. I don't know what channel I'm in. I feel like my grandpa with a remote. I don't get Slack. So yeah.
That's true. It does have the grandpa with the remote feel to it. Well, if you understand it or you don't, you should also go to softwaredefinedinterviews.com and join the channel there. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.